Okay. Let me just say up front, this might go sideways. This might go right down the tubes. Let me say up front, I do not like to talk about me. I'm about as interesting as your left shoe, all right? But the point of this, along the way, it's maybe where you can learn a few trinkets that you can take away. If you are a weather professional, if you're a practitioner like I am, if you forecast the weather, maybe you're just a hobbyist and you're a weather... Listen, if anybody's in this room on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, you're a weather weenie, okay? Everybody in this room is a weather geek, nerd, dork, weenie, all right? You're in that category. So if you're a hobbyist, if you like weather, the point of this is to hopefully provide some information that is useful and you're not wasting 30 minutes of your life hearing about me. To be successful in doing what I do for a living, you have to have a servant's heart. It's not about me and it's not about anybody else but the people we serve, and that's it. So some of you perhaps have not heard me before. For those that don't know, let me give you some background. This is me when I was in high school. And by the way, I am as old as dirt, okay? I'm the oldest guy in this room, but man, do I feel good. I am energized. I feel better now than I felt when I was 25 years old. And I'm very blessed, but this is me in high school. By the way, I think that was a comb over. I don't think I've ever had any hair. I honestly don't know how to work a comb, okay? I would have to get an instruction manual. But this is 1973, and I took a job through high school and college at a radio station. I'm from a low-income situation. Growing up, for most of my growing up days, it was me and my mom. I don't have a dad. My dad walked out when I was 7, and he didn't pay a dime of child support. And me and my mom were very low income, so I worked. And let me just share one thing about me. Can you guys keep a secret? Can you two keep a secret? Yeah. I trust you. I don't know about they're the ones in charge down here. What's secret about me is this: I am not good at anything I do. I'm not good at anything I do. But hey, I will work harder than anybody else in this room to accomplish a goal. And it came about because I had to go to work when I was 7. I don't think they had child labor laws back in the 60s. But I worked all the way through high school and college doing this, making about $1.85 an hour. This is how cheap college tuition was back then. I paid for college tuition making that money. But it also taught me some things about communication. It taught me a way to break out of my shell. I'm very introverted, which makes no sense. But deep down inside, I'm a man of very few words. But my first major at college was electrical engineering, would wind up getting into meteorology at Mississippi State. And this is my first weather gig in Birmingham. And this is in 1979. How about the fancy graphics we have back there? We had magnetic stick-ons, okay? That was a big deal. When I first started doing this in 78, you had to draw it with a magic marker. But I stayed there at this channel for 5 years. And in 1984, I was transferred to Dallas-Fort Worth. And that was a rare thing, I guess, for somebody in their 20s to work in a top 10 market. And I didn't ask to go. I was called in the front office on a Friday. And they said, you're going to Dallas and you start Monday, which was pretty amazing. And I went to tell my wife, and she went into labor. Our first son was born between the last Friday in Birmingham and that Monday in Dallas. I still had to be at work Monday in Dallas. There was no family leave back in these days. And I'm glad for this experience. I met some amazing people in the weather enterprise. I know what it's like to work in a top 10 market. I've been there, I've done that. But my wife and I, we wanted to come back. I was born in this state. I will die in this state. I will be buried here. And so I thought my TV career was over. I had a 2-year deal. End of the 2 years, what do? We bought a small radio station in rural West Alabama where you could do anything. I could do weather all day long when you own the joint. But TV came calling back, and I went back in 1989. In 1996, I went to work for a new channel, and this is where everything changed. They gave me the freedom to be me. If you know me, I color outside the lines. I'm a little bit of an outlier. And the main thing, this group that put this on the air, they gave me the freedom to go on TV anytime I wanted to. This was a family that owned the business. The family said, you've got our word. You have full control. I'm thinking, okay. I can use that. She can stay up for 12 hours, 15, 24. It's your call. And that changed everything. And I'm still doing it at that station today. I think I've been there too long when you start seeing this stuff going on. By the way, hey, too much alcohol is a bad thing, all right? This guy's going to realize I'm stuck on his body for the rest of his life. But what I want to do today is go through a typical day in my life. And again, I don't like talking about me. Please understand that. But I want you to take away some trinkets that can help you on your journey in weather, whether it's that as a professional or a hobbyist. So my day begins at 4 a.m. 4 a.m., which is not that bad. I really don't mind getting up at 4 a.m. I can't wait to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I work a morning shift at my house. This is where the magic is made in the morning. It's a combination office studio. And I do a 3-hour shift at home. And it's obviously beats driving to work at that hour of the day. But I've been in this particular office for about 9 years. And of course, all the magic's in the rack behind the attic back there. But my main job, it's obviously to forecast the weather. So let me just say a few things about forecasting, okay? So you want to know, let's say you're a hobbyist or a professional. For most people, the first thing they go to, what's the first thing they go to when you're setting up a forecast? Models, right? Models. Hey, man, what's the GFS going to look like? The European? No. Guys, and listen, modeling is critical. Numerical weather prediction is an amazing miracle of technology. But the first thing you want to do is look out the stinking window, all right? Listen, you need to know what the atmosphere is like right now. So what's the first thing you want to see? A sounding, okay? If you're not familiar with this is an upper ear sounding, and this is data that's, in this case, coming from the Weather Service down at Birmingham, the Shelby County Airport. These are launched twice a day, and sometimes during active weather, 4 times a day. And this is a gold mine. This is a treasure trove. It's so often I see people that just don't want to see what the atmosphere is like now. To forecast the future, you have to understand what's going on at the very moment you're beginning here. Are the models initialized properly? You can find that out by doing a quick study of the current situation here. And by the way, and again, this is the upper, what is this? This is OZ. This is back early in the week, late Sunday night. This is the OZ set from Sunday night. But that's 500 millibars, about 18,000 feet off the ground. You have to know what the weather is like right now. And obviously, models are a big deal. They're critical. This is, in terms of data sources, I use Weather Bell. I would assume most of you use Weather Bell. That's not the only way of getting model data. It's a paid service. Quite frankly, I don't know what they're charging per month now. I think it's $20, $30. But and I'm not here to endorse any product or service. I have nothing to do with anything I'm showing up here. No financial ties to it. But that's where a lot of the raw data comes from. And if you watch any meteorologist or amateurs really on social media, most of the data comes from Weather Bell. And by the way, this is a great product. Anybody know what this is? Analogs. Man, this is good. But again, so often people just ignore this when it comes to putting a forecast together. This is the CIPS analog page, CIPS. And what this basically is, it takes the upper air of the surface pattern, and it will go back in history. What happened with the same circumstances in years past? And it will give you a list of analogs, and you can go in and see what's happened in the past. And yeah, as old as I am, I've lived a lot of these things, but still, you can't have all this data in your head. So understand, guys, when it comes to forecasting, don't forget to look at the current situation. Study the SQT, the sounding, the latest sounding. Look at the current surface map, the current upper air maps. Look at these analogs before you dive into models. But it's my job to put a public forecast together. Most of what I do in terms of distribution, it's across different platforms. This is our blog, AlabamaWX.com. I have one big regret when it comes to college. Ladies, what do you think it was? What's the one course I should have taken that I did not?
Doctor.
No? Writing. So much of what I do now involves the written word. And my first major at college was electrical engineering, and I finished in meteorology. I never took a class in writing, and I look at some of these amazing writers, and I'm so sad because I cannot verbalize often what we think is going to happen in the proper words. So one bit of advice, if you're going to do forecasting, you might want to take a course in writing. And let me just say up front, I'm very dyslexic. Anybody else dyslexic in this room? I struggle with reading because of that. When I was in high school, I was doing differentials in 10th grade, but I was reading on first grade level. They honestly did not know if I was an idiot or a genius. And to this day, most people still don't know if I'm an idiot or a genius. It depends on the day. But I would advise taking some writing skill because so much of what I do involves writing. This is the blog post, let's see, it was from earlier this week, probably back on Monday. In addition to writing the blog and doing forecasting, I do commercial radio. Radio is still viable. I'm quite frankly surprised I'm still doing this. I do 24 radio stations around the country. I've done one station down in South Texas in McAllen for 32 years. So that's another part of the day. I do a live hit on television on our morning show, and I'm still doing old school television. We use LiveView. Most television stations now use this technology called LiveView to bring back live shots and people from remote locations. So I use that from my home. But again, this whole shift, it takes about 3 hours. And then I also have to prep the programs I do. I speak every day. Every single day, I speak somewhere. And I load current weather graphics in here so kids can see what the weather is like currently and things like this. Goodness gracious. I look at these full disc satellite images, and it's amazing to me, the resolution, the quality we see. So I get that loaded up, and then at about 7 o'clock, I'm done. I work 4 to 7 at the house, 3-hour shift. At 7 o'clock, I load in the Silver Bullet. Oh, yeah. Anybody else have a 4Runner here? Man, oh man. I bought this thing in 2012, okay? My wife hates it. She was mad at me this morning. I can't believe you're still driving that thing. As of earlier this week, that's the mileage. It's just getting broken in. Hey. I mean, it drives better than the day I bought that thing. Woo! All right? So I'm off in the 4Runner going to a school, and I just picked a random day this week. I picked Tuesday. My first stop at 9 o'clock was a school right down the road in Madison called Heritage Elementary School. And this is a great school, and when I get in there, I teach basic science, get kids excited about science. And this is by the way, we were just talking about this is my dream job. If I did not do professional meteorology, I would want to be a third grade science teacher. I would do that all day. Third grade, any third graders in here? I mean, third graders are great. They understand sarcasm. They think you're funny. They have the cognition to learn middle school level science. They're sweet. They don't smell bad yet. And they have no hormone problems. Third grade, I'm telling you, you want to teach elementary education, third grade is where it's at. But again, this is Heritage Elementary right down the road. And we get a lot of good cakes here. It's just like, you wouldn't believe the good stuff I get. But these teachers are great, and the teachers need some encouragement. You know, they're not in it for money or fame. It's hard work. My mom was a teacher. I'm a TK, a teacher's kid, and I like to encourage the teachers as well. So after Heritage Elementary, stop number 2, and I typically do 2 schools a day, sometimes 3 or 4. This is Coleman. This is called Coleman Christian School. Man, the cakes were good this week. It's like, I don't eat much of this stuff. If I ate all these goodies, I would not be quite this thin. So, and let me just chase a rabbit. And I could chase a lot of rabbits during this talk. After the second school, I will work out. I'm a beast. I'm old as dirt. Most people my age, they look like they ought to be down at the graveyard. Again, I feel great, and this changed my life. It literally changed my life. About 8 years ago, I thought I was physically dying. I had no energy. I don't sleep much at all. Diet was horrible, and I knew that I would not live long. And I started doing this, and it's changed everything. I back squatted 200 pounds the other day. I'm strong as an ox. And but let me just say this, and this is important. If you're going to do what I do for a living, practitioner, you are on the air. You're working a shift at the Weather Service, and you're issuing tornado warnings. If you're communicating tornado warnings, critical weather information, your cognitive skill better be at the very top to be successful. And if you are not in good physical condition, you're not going to be in good mental condition. So, and again, I'm probably talking to me, I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm just saying this has become a very critical part of my life, is that you've got to pay attention to physical health, which in turn creates a good situation for your mental health. So this is just some of the places I've been this week. I'll give you a quick summary here. Alexander City, y'all been to Alexander City? You guys don't get out much, do you? We got to get you out more. Did a private school called Veritas Lake Martin Christian School in Alexander City. The school Tuesday was over here at Madison Heritage, called The Christian, was on Tuesday. Tuesday night, I emceed a banquet, the American Baseball Foundation. We raise boys. I love baseball. Not that many baseball people are left. I sat up there and interviewed a guy named Goose Gossage. You probably have no idea who that is. He was probably the first pitcher in Major League Baseball to throw 100 miles per hour. That was his pitch, 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Back in the 80s, played for the Yankees. But that's a great ministry. They do so much for kids that are struggling and come from low-income situations, and it's a marvelous ministry. But the way the baseball players like to do it, that they just like to have somebody talk with them. And they don't like the sports guys because they drive them crazy, but they like the weather guys because we're harmless. But I did that Tuesday night. Let's see, the next morning, Wednesday, at First Baptist Church, Columbiana for their kindergarten program. And then did a couple of programs at Children's of Alabama. Anybody know what that is? That's our large children's hospital here. The first session was a general session for patients and their families. The second session was for kids in behavioral health. And that was probably the most important of the two. Nobody in this room wants to talk about mental health. Nobody. But it affects every family in here. Mine and yours. And if you say it doesn't, I've got a good sermon on lying, okay? But to be able to go in there and talk with those kids that are really, really struggling with mental health, that was good. So 2 sessions at Children's, did a preschool program in Hoover. The next day went to Zion Chapel School in Jack. I bet you I'm the only guy in this room that's ever been to Jack, Alabama. I don't believe you. What were you doing in Jack, Alabama? I believe you did. All right. By the way, I'm from Greenville. But for those that don't know, Jack is a small community north of Elba and Enterprise in Coffee County. And let me tell you, it was absolute gold. We had such a great time. That was an amazing visit. Spoke Thursday evening to the AMS chapter, college students in meteorology at Millersville University, which is in Pennsylvania, west of Philadelphia. I love encouraging college students. And by the way, let me just chase a rabbit. If you're a student in this room, I know we have 2 right here. I love your generation. Don't you dare let some old fart tell you that your generation is sorry. No, you're hardworking. You understand what you need to do to be successful. You've got a servant's heart. You're good with people. You're good with science. I love this generation. I really do, and I really mean that. So I got a chance to speak with the kids at Millersville Thursday evening. Yesterday, Sylacauga, Alabama, Pinecrest Elementary School. I'm here today, and after this, I've got to talk at a retirement community. And you better be nice to them because I'll be living there one day soon. And by the way, I'm not ever retiring. I'm going to drop dead doing this. I mean, I'm not going to be there, but that's just an example of what doing a week. I mean, I don't say this to brag. No, I should be doing more. But here's the deal. You cannot be successful in forecasting weather if you do not understand the people, the culture, the geography, and the microclimate of the market that you serve. And one way of learning people and culture and geography is to get out on the stinking road and do this every day. I've been doing this for 47 years. I know this state better than anybody else in this room. And to be able to call out landmarks when there's a tornado down. Come on. There's a tornado 14 miles southwest of Clanton. Nobody knows where that is, even if they live there. But if I say the tornado is a Jim's Pit Barbecue, everybody knows where Jim's is. Jeanette Hughes that runs it in Billingsley. I mean, I'm telling you, I understand these things. It's all in my head. It is useless information except when the weather gets dangerous. So after the talks, I come into the TV station. I still do old school television, but you know what? Most of my work, it's not on television. That takes up the smallest amount of time in my day. By the way, this is my office. I work in a closet. Don't you tell anybody I showed you this. My wife says, don't you ever show anybody that nasty room where you work. But this is why it is literally a closet. Everything I do is done in that closet except for the actual moments that I'm on television. I don't know why I started doing that. You know, you go to the school, you get the little sticker, the visitor badge. I started sticking those on the door. I don't even get those much anymore, but one day I might want to see the places I've been. But I do radio in here. We do the Facebook Live, YouTube Live, the Write the Blog Post, radio. All the things I do are in this room. And I got some crazy stuff in my closet. By the way, don't you be mean to me today. Don't you be mean. You know why? I've got the switch. Waiting to see if a riot breaks out. I spoke at a function for the National Weather Service in Nashville. Chrissy Hurley up there gave me this thing. That's the greatest gift I've ever had. I will spray you if you're ugly to me. I got some interesting aviation switches. I bet you nobody in here knows what this is about. I'm a NASA historian. those men and women that got man to the moon in the decade of the 1960s, it was miraculous. They were in their 20s. They were engineers. They didn't know any better, except they had that mandate to get man on the moon by 1969. And Apollo 12, right after takeoff, was hit not once, but twice by what? Lightning. And all the telemetry went away. The screens were just gibberish. In mission control, they had no way of seeing the data, and it looked like the mission was going to have to be aborted. That is a horribly complex and very, very dangerous move that's never been done before, aborting an Apollo mission. Every time I drive past this Saturn V, I think about Apollo 12. And it just looked like the mission was going to be aborted. But there was a flight controller by the name of John Aaron. John got the nickname Steely-Eyed Missile Man. And he'd seen that pattern of gibberish before, and he told the flight director, "Flight, take the SCE to aux." And he said, "What?" And Jerry Griffin, the flight director, radioed out to the cabin, "Take the SCE to aux." They didn't know what it meant, except Alan Bean, one of the astronauts, he knew where that little switch was. And he threw that switch to auxiliary. SCE is Signal Conditioning Electronics to auxiliary. Immediately, everything came back, and the mission was able to return. Let me tell you one thing about John Aaron. This is something you can apply to your life if you're going to do weather. John had a natural curiosity about things and how they work. And I think to be successful in this business, you need that. John had been on some simulations, and he saw that pattern before. He saw it. It's like the analog thing I talked about. And he knew that you could fix it with the little switch, and that saved a mission, probably saved some lives. So a natural curiosity about things when it comes to weather. Listen, guys, there's so much we don't know. There's so much we don't know. The one thing you'll learn in my business, it is humility. You do this long enough, you will learn how much we don't know. So anyway, I'd have that in my office, which is cool. I do old school television, and listen, I'm horrible at this. And let me just say one thing about this, and if anybody's in the television industry here, I'm sorry, but we're near the end of life here. The Ron Burgundy newscast. Good evening, here's the news. It was great in the 70s, 80s, 90s. I've been on this horse for 47 years, but it's coming to an end. Everybody in this room has a YouTube channel. Everybody in this room has a podcast. Everybody in this room has a phone. You're all broadcasters. And everybody is broadcasting content, and there's only so much content we can consume in a 24-hour day. Asking people to spend 30 minutes with these old school Ron Burgundy newscasts, I think, is a little out of line now. But I'm still doing it, and do it in the evening. And then after the early evening news block at 7 o'clock, I'll go home. And let me chase another rabbit here, just so you'll know some personal things about me. I've been married 23 years. We raised 2 boys. Of course, they're grown. But I go home and spend some time with my wife. As busy as you are, you've got to make a priority list. And I'm not here to tell you what your priority list is. But for me, family is a stinking big deal. And so every night when I can, if the weather's okay and if I'm not doing a banquet or something else, I'll go home and spend some time with my wife. And I don't have any regrets. I'm so thankful we didn't have the social media stuff going on when those 2 boys were coming up. I was able to go to the program at school in between newscasts. I coached baseball for years for the second one. He played at Spann Park. But I do that in the evening after the 6 o'clock news, and then I'm back. I go back and do the late news at 10 o'clock, back in the TV studio. I get home about 11:30, and then I will deal with this. And let me just say this. I just don't deal with this at night. I deal with it all day long. This is an 800-pound monster. And this is not a talk about social media. I don't know anything about this. People all the time ask me to speak on it. I don't know anything about this. Again, my first major was electrical engineering, and I finished in meteorology, but this is where people are. And to be successful in my world, and again, my main job in life, it is mitigating loss of life during tornadoes and other high-impact events. You have to have a relationship with the people you serve, and you can't do it bottled up in some office all day or staying away from this. I hear this all the time. Social media sucks, man. I'm not going to get on it at all. Well, that's where the people are. What you're saying is you don't want to be with people. When I get interns in the summer, every summer I get these brilliant interns from colleges like this. Where's the first place I take them? Anybody know? Walmart. Walmart in Adamsville, Alabama. A working class part of the city, so they can see every people group we serve. We are here to serve everybody, and we live in a world of hate and anger and rage. And some of those brilliant college kids cannot handle the people in the Walmart because for some of them, they don't look like them. They don't think like them. They don't vote like them. They find them offensive. They want to hurt them verbally. And if that's the way you are, that's okay, but you got to go do research. You can't do what I do. We are here to serve every single people group, all of it. And quite frankly, we're not good at some of those people groups, and we have to get better. But that's the reason I live in this world. And, you know, you can focus on the negatives. I get attacked every day. Good morning to everybody except this guy. I had a good one today. Oh, man. So we had tornadoes near Knoxville a couple of nights ago. Killed 2 people, a mother and a daughter. One of the first comments I got was that the government caused the tornado, created it and caused it and killed those 2 people. And I just said to this person, I said, well, tell me how the government caused the tornado. And then she calls me, he or she, I think it's a he called me a narcissistic twat. If anybody knows what that is, please let me know. And there was some ugly talking going on here. There's always some ugly talking. Some of these people on here can cuss the horns off a bull, all right? But I think the positives really outweigh the negatives. The video content that I get off social media. Anybody know where this is? Gulf Shores, Alabama. This is about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Are you kidding me? A generational snowstorm on the Gulf Coast. These guys are having a snowball fight on the beach. This is outstanding. Are you kidding me? I mean, and all this I'm getting from social media. This is too good. Hey, this is Alabama. Listen, we don't have sleds here. You got to do what you got to do. Now, at some point, I'm not so sure if that kid's on a sled or a snowplow, okay? It's going to morph into a snowplow. Y'all know where this is? Dothan, Alabama. This is not Huntsville, all right? This is Dothan, Alabama. Not that far from Jack. Yeah, the snowplow thing is really kicking into it. Now, this is Alabama. Guess what's pulling this kid around? An excavator. Now, you know, a lot of things can go wrong here. I'm just saying, a lot of things can go wrong here. That kid at some point is going to be flying off that thing about right now. Well, no, but I sure saw this one. I thought that was a child. No. You know what that is? Somebody put a dog on that thing. I mean, this is Alabama, down there in South Alabama. That dog is not happy about the circumstances here, but that dog stayed on that thing the whole way down. Now, you got to be careful when you got snow and ice. Whoa, gosh, that hurts me looking at that. By the way, if you want to get on my social media feed, that's how you do that. I don't know why those pictures always show up. And by the way, let me just say, we had a horrible, horrible rollover accident with a vehicle on a snow-covered road involving a young child. It was horrible. But I have good news to report. The vehicle was turned back on the right side. Look at the look on that kid's face. What? What just happened here? And what is it with these knuckleheads? I mean, this bonehead right here, this is Little Lagoon at Gulf Shores, and you know what this guy's going to do, right? The polar plunge. Oh, that is ice water. But all of this content, it's gold. I received over 27,000 pictures and videos from South Alabama in the Gulf Coast during this storm 3 weeks ago. I'm still looking at all of that content. That's one of the positives of the social media side is that I cannot get a camera everywhere, and we've learned through social science studies we have to have cameras. By the way, what do I stop here, ladies? Still. Okay, but on the negative, the amount of disinformation, it's stunning. So a couple of weeks ago, my inbox was full. Is it true? 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 So some guy put up a viral post. Notice the date up here, the 22nd of January. Here's the next Arctic blast setting up for February 6th. It will be moving through the southeast. No qualifier, no expression of uncertainty. By the way, what's the model output here? How many hours out? Within 6 was 6 10. And it went viral. This is probably some high school kid. And it totally went viral. This one post had, 29,000 shares. I'll come on and say there's no skill to forecast this far in advance. Nobody shares that. And what actually happened on the 6th of February? And it's a shell game. Not what the kid's going to say. That wasn't a forecast. I was just posting model maps. But then the same kid will say, I called that snowstorm in Mobile 5 weeks in advance. I beat the Weather Service and everybody else. So are you a map poster guy or a forecaster guy? It's a shell game. And I think one of the biggest problems that's involved in this is to create content funds where they can make a pile of money on this. Some of the TikTok videos, and I dabbled in that world because I'm here to reach young people, but I know that some of the viral posts in the last month, just one video has generated up to $8,000. One TikTok video, $8,000 of a snowstorm 3 weeks in advance. That never happens. So I'm just saying, fighting disinformation was one of our biggest problems. Let me just share. Can I speak the truth for just a minute? All right. I've got a minute to speak the truth, right? So I've been doing this a long time, and if you disagree, please raise your hand. Let's talk. There's no skill that a specific forecast beyond 7 to 10 days. If you're good, if you can do a specific forecast up to 15, 20, 50 days, write a paper. Present that peer-reviewed paper at an AMS conference so we can learn from you, okay? Listen, really, I'm serious. If you got this down, go for it. Let us teach us, all right? But there's no skill in a specific forecast beyond 7 to 10 days. However, there is skill at what? Pattern recognition. You look at the INSO phase. You look at the overall pattern, and you can give general ideas, temperatures above or below average, and things like that. There is skill at that. But the bottom line is this. Deterministic model output beyond 240 hours means nothing. It really doesn't. And that's what all the viral posts are. And if you see these kids, what they've done, they've learned how to find these model maps, and they go out 384 hours and they post them. They'll get hundreds of thousands of shares. They'll get the fame and the glory, no matter if it's true or not true. And here's the thing I don't understand. People keep following those kids with a religious type zeal. It's bizarre. It's almost a worship type thing where they can do no wrong. I don't understand that. But out of all the things I say today, this might be the most important, okay? All models are wrong. Let's see if anybody else can fill out the rest of this. All models are wrong, but what? Yes. All models are wrong, but some are useful. I honestly can't remember who taught me this in my days. One of the biggest influencers in my life in terms of science was a guy named Chuck Doswell. Dr. D passed away a few weeks ago, and I will tell you, in later years, he became a very good friend. We were the odd couple. Chuck's an atheist, I'm a Christian, but yet we were very close together. But he taught me so much about severe local convective storms. But I want to say this came from Chuck Doswell. So as you look at forecasting, just understand all models are wrong, but some are what? Useful. And I go to sleep at 1 a.m. I'll wake up the next morning at 4 a.m. How many hours of sleep was that? Not enough is the right answer, and thanks for playing. I'm only 25 years old. This is what you look like when you never sleep, all right? But you know what? There's going to be a time where all of this that you do in a day is really going to be needed. All of this knowledge that you pick up, the ability to work long hours, the ability to persevere during pressure. And again, for me, I do believe one of the reasons I was born was to do this, was to help mitigate loss of life during tornadoes. This is, I guess, is what I'm known for, composite radar that's lower resolution. This is down the road in Coleman. This is April 27, 2011. A lot of you know that this day is in my soul and my spirit. It's a day that I'll never forget. I think this is, listen, we had 62 tornadoes in one day, 62. A lot of people say, oh, that was the Tuscaloosa tornado. Hey, what about the other 61? All right? But I will say this, had a pretty big influence on me. My hometown, it's a small town in South Alabama called Greenville. Y'all have probably never heard of Greenville, Alabama. You ever seen Forrest Gump? Where's Forrest Gump from? Greenbow. The guy that wrote that book, Winston Groom, he patterned Greenbow after Greenville. All right? I'm really from Greenbow, Alabama. But we moved here when I started 5th grade. It was me and my mom, as I mentioned, low-income situation. But there were some wonderful people here that loved us and encouraged us and helped us, and I don't like to watch this. This is from John Brown and Mike Wilhelm. And Mike passed away a few years ago. I miss him a lot. Mike was a good friend. John, of course, we still talk all the time. But this is so odd that you could see this. And most tornadoes here you don't see. You know that. We're rain-wrapped and we have hills and trees. But this is what motivates me, and it should be what motivates you. What you're seeing scrolling on the board, it's the list of the people that died, April 27, 2011. Some were your age. Some were mine. Some lived in the city. Some lived in the country. It affected every people group. And this was an incredible setback for me because, and again, this is 14 years ago, the physical science could not have been better. All 62 tornadoes were excellent with warnings. In some cases, the lead time was 40, 45 minutes. And yet all these people died. Every name, it's just, please understand, it's not just a name, it's a family. People are still hurting today because of what happened. And we've got to stop it. Everybody in here. If you're a hobbyist and if you're a professional, we can't let this happen again, okay? And understand, I've had a day like this in my life. We had the super outbreak in 1974. I was in high school. I lived through that. I volunteered for 3 days with a ham radio license. They let me away from school for 3 days. And that really set the stage for what I'm doing today. I'm a child of the 1974 super outbreak, but I actually worked this one. And again, the one thing that I've done, I had basically memorized all these names, all of them. And you know why? It's really, really motivating for me. Why do you think I work those long hours every day? Is you work those long hours every day you can pick up some trinkets of knowledge about the science by looking at those soundings, looking at the analogs, looking at these things. So maybe we'll be better off the next time this happens. But I think the one thing we learned on this day is the fact that we don't know anything about behavioral science. We're asking people to do something. And we don't know anything about social science. We don't. So the one thing we're trying to do now is integrate social science into physical science, take this interdisciplinary approach. So just maybe the next time we have a day like this, all these names will not be scrolling by, okay? These days happen once every 40 years. All it takes is how many? One. That sucker comes down your street, that's your April 27th. But to honor the names, I'm going to let these names go all the way to the end, and I'll make a few more points, and I promise I won't go long. But it's amazing to look at the different people groups, the different ages, some all in the same family that were taken out. Again, I could talk about these situations for a long time. But again, 252 died on April 27, 2011. And we did have 251 names. One baby that did not have a name was killed as well. So our challenges, real quick. Weather enterprise, to be better. We got to reduce the false alarm ratio. It's out of hand. You got some weather service offices, the FAR is now 85%. 85% of tornado warnings are false alarms. We're better than that.
Yeah.
And listen, they'll say, it's almost as if it's a bragging thing. I'm not here to be critical, but I'm here to save somebody's life, okay? I don't care feelings. You can't hurt my feelings. I had no feelings left to hurt, okay? But if you go to Dollar Generals, y'all ever been to a Dollar General?
Yeah.
Y'all do get out some, I guess. If not, you need to go to one. That's where real people are, the people we serve. They're in Walmarts and Dollar Generals and Targets. And talk with them about this. They hear it all the time. I hear warnings all the time, and nothing ever happens. Kevin Laws is a good friend of mine. Kevin is the Sioux in Birmingham, Science Operations Officer. He gets it. He's got the FAR in Birmingham down to 27%. I never thought in my life it would be that low. He went back to basic science, and he taught those guys to keep your finger off that button, because every time you see a little couple on radar, that doesn't mean there's a tornado there. So we got to do that. We've got to provide better warnings for people who live in mobile homes. That's one of my biggest challenges. Mobile homes are wonderful, affordable housing. And by the way, if you're in the weather enterprise, don't you dare be condescending to anybody that lives in a mobile home. Listen, I'm a low-income guy that came from a low-income background. A mobile home would have been a godsend in my life. We didn't have one. They're great places to live, but during a tornado, they're a death trap. You've got to get out. And listen, the average lead time for a tornado warning here is about 15 minutes. For some people, it takes them 30 minutes or longer to get to a shelter or a business that can serve as a shelter. Maybe there needs to be an intermediate product, watch and a warning, but we've got to do better for people who live in trailers here. And the other big challenge we have is the reinvention of the weather communication business. Linear television's dead. Nobody in here is going to go home tonight, oh, I can't wait to watch CBS at 9:30.
Offense.
Are you kidding? You're going to go home and watch Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and YouTube. That's great. That's about what my wife done watching this stuff. The Ron Burgundy days are at the end, and we've got to reinvent the wheel. And I'm very excited. If you want to do what I do, it will be a better world for you. It's not going to be Ron Burgundy. Good evening, here's the news. No, it's going to be better. And but we've got to reinvent that. And there's some good things going on now. Go see the Tennessee Valley weather people here. See what they're doing. That's an example of where we're going with this. But a couple of things, and I'll stop. This is my neighborhood, March 25th, 2021. Wow. An EF3 tornado had come through the day before. They had just got the roads cleared. We could drive through. Let me just say this. Tornadoes happen to real people in a real place in a real time. Happened to us. EF3. By the way, a lot of people say, hey, it's only a 3. It's not that bad. Ooh, I would beg to differ with you. But I will never forget the kindness of these many random people that showed up at our house the day after to begin to restore some order. And this was so encouraging to me to see. They brought food out there. They had heavy equipment to get trees off the house. And they worked out there all day to begin restoring some order. And the simple kindness these people showed us, I want to be like that. I want to do that. So again, to be successful in the weather enterprise, you've got to really work hard. I don't expect anybody in here to work 4 a.m. to midnight and sleep 3 hours. It's not very healthy, but it drives me. I can't wait to do it. I am not complaining about my hours. I cannot wait to get up and do this and learn every single day. Get kids excited about science. Again, they pay me money to talk about the weather. How good is this? All right? But we have to attack our job with the heart of a servant like these people. Some of these people, I have no idea who they are. I don't know where they came from. I don't know where that equipment came from. But it started to restore some order in our home. And we have to attack it with a servant's heart. And that's the main thing. So I would just encourage everybody in this room, if you want to be successful in weather, whether you're a hobbyist or whether you're a professional or a student, you've got to work hard to be successful. Y'all ever heard of John Gordon, National Weather Service in Louisville, meteorologist in charge? I love to hear John speak. I heard him speak down in Mobile at a conference back in the spring. We were there together. And John was giving a speech to the students about how you get a job at the National Weather Service. It was a good one. Oh, man, it was good. The first quality he was looking for, what do you think it was? First quality. You want a job at the National Weather Service? First quality. What is he looking for? Anybody know? Passion, ability. People skill. People skill. So many of the college students come into his office and apply for a job, and they struggle with people or certain types of people. Again, the ones that don't look like them and think like them. But you've got to serve everybody, and you've got to attack this job with a servant's heart. I'll tell you one more secret and we're done. I got 90 seconds. I promise I'll get you out on time. You interview for a job with me, and some of you might be doing that in the next couple of years. All right? There's some good stuff going on. I'll tell you one of my secrets. Before you come into my office, I will eat a Rice Krispies treat. They're good. Oh, they're good. But you ever notice the paper is really obnoxious purple? The wrapping is purple? I'll throw it on the floor right by the trash can in my office and make it very visible. You come in for the interview, I want to see if you're willing to sit down and pick up that little piece of trash paper and put it in the trash can. That's not how you get the job. But it might be a tiebreaker. It kind of talks about the condition of your heart. So, again, work hard with a passion, servant's heart, and I'm so excited about what's going to happen in the future of the weather enterprise. All right, I'm done, guys. Thank y'all. We have to go now. Where are we going? Lincoln, Tennessee. We have some instructions right here.